These are live visuals of Prime Minister Narendra Modi visiting the Muktinath Temple, and as you can see, he is inside the sanctorium of the temple where he's being attended by the priests as he offers his prayers and performs the puja. And as we all know, this temple has tremendous importance and significance for the Hindus and Buddhists in Nepal. Prime Minister's visit has been marked by religious and faith diplomacy, which is expected to facilitate greater and better ties between India and Nepal. This is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's. It is a two-day stringent and extremely packed visit for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who will be heading back to India in the evening today. But before he does that, he will also visit the Pashupatinath Temple today. And it was yesterday in Janakpur that Prime Minister Modi flagged off a bus service from Janakpur to Ayodhya. Janakpur, as we all know, also happens to be Goddess Sita's birthplace, while Ayodhya is Lord Rama's birthplace. So clearly a very, very symbolic and emblematic move. It was in Janakpur yesterday that Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed a public gathering where he reassured Nepal that India will always be by the side of their neighbor, spoke about their neighborhood first policy. He also said that India will continue to stand with Nepal. India and Nepal must forge better connectivity, and that Nepal figures prominently in India's neighborhood first policy to provide Nepal with greater connectivity to Indian ports, and that India and Nepal will boost cooperation in the field of science and technology. He mentioned that India has managed to fulfill its promise of launching a satellite to help Nepal. And today he is at the Muktinath Temple. As you can see, he's offering his prayers to the deities inside the sanctorium of Muktinath Temple in Nepal. As much as faith diplomacy has helped in facilitating ties, and the two countries are hoping to take this beyond the optics and materialize it into all the promises that India and Nepal have made to each other. There are various joint projects in the pipeline for the two countries, which also includes oil transport. A satellite also has been launched by India to help Nepal. As we all know, PM Modi and his Nepalese counterpart, Mr. KP Sharma Oli, jointly inaugurated the Ramayana Circuit bus route that connects Janakpur from capital Kathmandu to Ayodhya. And the Indian government has managed to identify 15 destinations in India, including Ayodhya, Nandigram, Hampi and Nagpur, for development under the Ramayana Circuit theme. Prime Minister Modi and KP Sharma Oli also held one-to-one talks in Kathmandu yesterday, where bilateral ties were not only strengthened, but a lot of decisions were also arrived upon between the two leaders of India and Nepal. It will be later during the day that Prime Minister Modi will offer his prayers at the famous Pashupatinath Temple as well. It will be his second visit to the temple. The foundation stone for a hydroelectricity project in the eastern Nepal district of Sankhuvasabha was also laid by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The project is Arun 3 project. And I am also joined in by our international correspondent Siddhant Sibal, who's reporting live from Nepal. Let's quickly go across to Siddhant. Siddhant, these are some great visuals being streamed from Muktinath Temple, and as you pointed out earlier, that this is the first time live visuals are being streamed from the temple. We can see that Prime Minister Modi is inside the sanctorium offering his prayers, as he's attended also by the priests over there. Earlier we saw that he was greeted by several Nepalese people who thronged the temple. Tell us more about the temple and this visit.
Well, this is a historic visit. I've already emphasized on that. But right now, what you can see on your screen, it's something out of the box. This is thinking foreign policy out of the box for India and, of course, the India Prime Minister. And this foreign policy focuses on commonalities. Remember, with every country with which India today is engaging, it's engaging on the basis of commonality. Whether it's Israel, whether it's Germany, or whether it's UK. For example, with Israel, India wants to be a startup nation. So India started a policy so that India can have a lot of startups using Israeli help, because Israel is also known as startup nation. If we talk about Germany, Angela Merkel came here. He took her to Bangalore and showed her around. And of course, with France also, he took the French president to Chandigarh. So that is something out of the box for the Indian foreign minister. But right now, on your screen is something of a really different nature, because this is all about faith diplomacy. Diplomacy focusing on faith, on commonalities. Yesterday, we even saw a hug diplomacy, but focus by and large on how India and Nepal can be connected through various means, especially through physical means. The newspapers today are talking about railway connect, connect to airlines, connect to waterways. Waterway is an innovative way, because India and Nepal have almost 600 water bodies that they share. Some large, some small. Focus, of course, today is on large water bodies.
Right.
But focus has to be shifted on the small water bodies as well. But these water bodies can help connect Nepal with India. As the Indian Prime Minister yesterday said, that Nepal is no longer a landlocked country, it's a land-linked, and it's a water-linked country. That is the focus. But these optics, what you are seeing on your screen right now, is something that also raises the question that will India able to deliver here in Nepal, because the common man here in Nepal is really not happy with what happened with the blockade and after the blockade coming after the earthquake. So India has to change that perception, that image on the ground here in Nepal, while China has been able to do it very smartly, very cleverly.
Right, Siddhant. We can see some great visuals coming in there. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just offered his prayers at the Muktinath Temple. He's inside the sanctorium offering his prayers and received blessings from the priests over there. And as we all know, Muktinath is a very sacred place for both Hindus and Buddhists, and it's located in the Muktinath Valley at an altitude of approximately 3,710 meters at the foot of Thorongla mountain pass, which is a part of the Himalayas in Nepal. The site is also close to the village of Rani Puva, which is sometimes mistakenly, it's also called Muktinath. Indeed, a very, very religious place, and of course has tremendous importance for Hindus and the Buddhists. It's interesting to note, Siddhant, how Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made it a point to visit all the places in Nepal of religious significance?
Well, it's smart diplomacy, I would rather say, and what you are seeing on your screens are the Prime Minister, of course, doing puja at the temple, and for the first time, as I've already mentioned, that these visuals coming from the Sanctum Sanctorum, and this is primarily because the Indian Prime Minister went there, so that matters a lot, especially when it comes to his own constituency, especially for the BJP party. This is something that the party can cash on. And just before the big elections, Lok Sabha election, this is a creation of a new image of a party that is considered closer and whose base is Hindus. But focusing on the larger visit has strong emphasis on faith diplomacy, a new kind of diplomacy, a smart diplomacy, a new initiative that connects the people of two countries, India and Nepal, through faith. And yesterday even the Prime Minister many times actually referred to this common connect of faith between India and Nepal. Yesterday Janakpur became part of the Ramayana circuit. The Prime Minister also talked about a Buddhist circuit, a Jain circuit. We can expect a Buddhist circuit also encompassing Sri Lanka, because Nepal, India and Sri Lanka have common heritage and of course a lot of sites of Buddhist significance. So maybe next visit we can expect some kind of a Buddhist circuit being announced. But today it was today and yesterday it was about faith diplomacy and the Ramayana circuit being announced, and great optics, great visuals by the Prime Minister going to these temples, these three temples. First in the Janki Devi Temple in Janakpur, then of course he is right now in Muktinath, and then finally in Pashupatinath, where right now I am going, because that will be the next big event and we will be giving you live from that location. We have already been to Pashupatinath. It's a majestic temple on the banks of river Bagmati that cuts across Kathmandu. It's a temple of historic significance. Legend has it that it was built in the year 3 BC. That makes it quite ancient, and a lot of people visit it almost on a daily basis. A lot of pilgrims from India visit on a daily basis, and the chief priest is from Bangalore, which of course sends another message, and a symbol on a day when the state is going for voting. But other than that, the focus is on infrastructure and connectivity, but faith diplomacy largely has been dominating the entire agenda. The newspapers today had only one picture. Every newspaper you open in Nepal, the picture of the Prime Minister of India and the Prime Minister of Nepal wearing that pink safa, pictures beamed across not only Nepal but India, and of course will be remembered by the people of both the countries for a pretty long time. But as I told you, India has to change the image also, because India is facing a trust deficit, at least in the common man here, who is really not happy with what happened with the blockade and thereafter. So that is something India has to change, and especially on what it says and what it delivers, because India has been saying that we will do this, we'll do that, we'll construct this, but is not able to deliver, while Chinese have been able to do it, and that too before the deadline. So that puts a positive image of China here in Kathmandu and across Nepal. But largely there is anxiety when it comes to growing Kathmandu Beijing ties, because that gives anxiety to New Delhi, of course, because South Asia was once considered a backyard of India, but that is changing slowly but surely.
Right. And we can see that Prime Minister Modi has just exited the sanctorium, and as he thanked the monks and the priests who attended to him inside the sanctorium at the Muktinath Temple, and he seems to be making an exit from the Muktinath Temple. It's indeed been a very, very pensive and spiritual moment for the Prime Minister of India, as we can see him making an exit from the Muktinath Temple. He's just met the priests over there. Siddhant, there are also reports that Prime Minister Modi is expected to announce a surprise gift for the development of the Muktinath Temple. Is that true?
Well, as of now, no such plans have been announced officially. Yesterday in Janakpur, we saw that Prime Minister announcing development assistance for development of the area around Janakpur so that it becomes more advanced when it comes to infrastructure development. We can expect that, but we can only know when he comes back to Kathmandu, where I am right now, because Muktinath is largely a pilgrimage, a symbolic visit, a visit that makes good optics, but the question is that will these optics translate into good India-Nepal relationships now?
Right.
You can see on your screens the Prime Minister praying and, of course, going to the places of important and immense significance in the temple itself, and having that Charanamrit. And now, of course, he will be leaving shortly from that place and coming back to Kathmandu, where right now I am at the Pashupatinath Temple, where the next major event of the Indian Prime Minister is all set to take place.
Right. You are in Kathmandu, Siddhant, and we would like to know how was the meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, because we do know that it was very integral in terms of bilateral ties between the two countries, and a lot of important decisions were arrived upon.
Well, yes, Kathmandu was all about diplomacy yesterday when both the Prime Minister had a long meeting. He even met former Prime Ministers of Nepal, and then there was this press statement by the Prime Minister of India and the Prime Minister of Nepal. But right now we are in Pashupatinath Temple. We have just reached Pashupatinath Temple, where we are setting up the entire system, because this is where the next big event is going to take place. The Indian Prime Minister is going to visit this temple. And let me tell you a very important thing, that Muktinath is at a place which is geographically very difficult. It's snow covered as we speak, while rest of northern India at least is going through a kind of a heat wave and so that is the difference. And it's not easy to go to Muktinath. Yes, pilgrims go there. Yes, a lot of people who have faith go there. But Pashupatinath is an easy access area. It's in the center of Kathmandu Valley. It makes a skyline for the Kathmandu Valley, and that is why a lot of Indian pilgrims come here. And we can expect a lot of Indian pilgrims today meeting the Indian Prime Minister when he arrives shortly at around 10:30 a.m. Local time here in Nepal.
Right. Siddhant, you have reached Pashupatinath Temple, and we know that Prime Minister Narendra Modi it will not be the first time that he is visiting Pashupatinath Temple. And let's speak about the historical and religious significance of that temple.
Well, this is a temple that has huge historical as well as religious significance. It's one of the Char Dhams. It's one of the main Shiva temple, not only in Nepal, in the entire subcontinent. Lakhs and lakhs of a lot of pilgrims come here on a daily basis. Right now, as I speak, I am surrounded by so many pilgrims going to the temple, since the temple is open only till 1 o'clock. Then, of course, there is the Bhog ceremony, and after that it reopens again at 2 o'clock, and then, of course, it closes at around 4 o'clock. And the significance of this temple can be known from the fact that most of the people who come to Kathmandu go to this temple at least once and take all the prasad, because that is something that the entire city is known because of this temple, this historic temple. And ironically, Nepal was hit by that devastating earthquake. This temple was not even touched. It survived. Not a stone from this building, this massive building, this historic building came down. This shows, and of course after this we got more religious about the entire temple. And obviously faith is something that is very important in the entire subcontinent. We know faith has made sure that people come together and also know that faith has made sure people go away from each other. But today it's the time to focus on how faith can bring people together, how faith can bring people of Nepal and people of India together for the best of both the countries, because India and Nepal share a roti beti ka rishta of food and family relationship. But let me add another F now, the faith, food and family relationship bind India and Nepal with each other, and they are expected to bind forever. India and Nepal, as the Indian Prime Minister said, that share relationship that is centuries old. They date back to Vedas, and today that is what the Indian Prime Minister is going to emphasize when he arrives here in Pashupatinath, and then of course the civic reception in Kathmandu.
Right. Siddhant, Prime Minister Modi is on a 2-day visit to Nepal, and it's important to mention that it's the first since border blockade in 2015 happened, which blamed India for crippling Nepal's economy. And that's why it's a very integral visit for India-Nepal ties, and especially for Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Nepal Prime Minister Oli. Also, beyond the temple visits, we also know that there are some marathon-level bilateral talks that have happened yesterday in Kathmandu, and today he will also be hosted by the mayor of Kathmandu, and he will also be engaging with political leaders of various parties. It's very important to also talk about other bilateral engagements that Prime Minister Modi will have today. Take us through them.
Well, significantly, while the Prime Minister is here in Nepal, he is not only meeting the Prime Minister, that of course is protocol, calling on the President, calling on the Vice President, but he is also meeting the former Prime Ministers of Nepal here in Kathmandu. There is an event going on, that is why you can hear my voice, because the ceremony here has started, the morning ceremony has started.
All right. There's some technical problem with our live with Siddhant. But these are visuals of Prime Minister Narendra Modi visiting the Muktinath Temple on your screen. It is his second day of the visit to Nepal. It's been a tightly packed visit for the Indian Prime Minister, as the visit has been marked by faith or religious diplomacy that's clearly helped India and Nepal to facilitate better relations. It was yesterday in Janakpur that Prime Minister Narendra Modi flagged off a bus service from Janakpur to Ayodhya. Janakpur is the birthplace of Goddess Sita. And today he has visited the Muktinath Temple, where you can see he was greeted by a host of Nepalese people along with the priests and the monks inside the temple. It was just some minutes ago that we saw visuals of Prime Minister Modi inside the sanctorium of the temple, where he offered his prayers along with the priests. And it is the first time that live visuals have been streamed from Muktinath Temple, as was pointed out by our correspondent Siddhant Sibal, who's live from Kathmandu. Siddhant also pointed out that the Muktinath Temple is not as accessible as the Pashupatinath Temple, and it is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first visit to Muktinath Temple. But it will not be his first visit to Pashupatinath Temple, which he has visited earlier in the past, and it will be later during the day that PM Modi will be visiting the Pashupatinath Temple as well. And it will be after the visit to the temples that Prime Minister Modi will engage with political leaders of various parties. He will also attend a civic reception hosted by the mayor of Kathmandu, and it will be after these meetings that PM Modi will depart for India in the evening. As you can see, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is being greeted by a host of officials locals and priests as he prepares to depart from the temple. And it will be after Muktinath Temple that Prime Minister Modi will be headed towards Pashupatinath Temple. I'm also joined in by Siddhant Sibal, who's reporting live from Kathmandu. Siddhant, we can see Prime Minister Modi is all set to leave the Muktinath Temple. What happens now?
Yes, the Muktinath visit is almost over. It's in last leg now, and now the focus shifts to Pashupatinath, where we are standing now, and this place is already buzzing with activity. We just arrived and we're just being garlanded by people here, and there is massive security presence here, and of course a little bit commotion, of course, but that's due also because this is a place of pilgrimage, this is a place of worship, this is where people come and believe that all their problems will be sorted out, and that is why this place matters. And this is the center of Hindu religion in the subcontinent, in the world, a place where lakhs of Hindus come every day, and we can expect a lot of good optics and visuals here in this temple, a temple of large significance for Hindus and many other people, and people of course thronging here since it's morning time. So a lot of people are right now present in the temple, Sanctum Sanctorium itself, and the in the central location of the temple. And you can't go to after a certain point inside the temple with cameras because that's the Sanctum Sanctorum of the temple. But outside also there is a lot of people coming here praying to God, and this is today Saturday, and that's why more people are there in the temple, hoping that all their wishes will be fulfilled.
Right. Siddhant, these are, I think, last visuals that we are getting of Prime Minister Modi's visit to the Muktinath Temple in Nepal, and as he prepares to exit the temple, we can see he's already gracing the red carpet to head back for the Pashupatinath Temple. And it was indeed a very, very spiritual moment for the Prime Minister, for the Indian Prime Minister, at the Muktinath Temple, which of course is a very sacred place for both the Hindus and the Buddhists, located in Muktinath Valley at approximately an altitude of 3,710 meters in the foot of the Thorongla mountain pass, which is of course a part of the Himalayas. And the site is close to the village of Ranipova. It is also called the Mukti Kshetra within Hinduism. Literally means the place of liberation or moksha, which is why the name Muktinath for the temple. It is also considered to be the 106th among the available 108 Divya Desam or premium temples considered sacred by one of the sects in Hinduism. The ancient name of this place in Sri Vaishnava literature comes before the Buddhist origin, interestingly. It is this temple which houses the Shila, considered to be naturally available form of Shriman Narayan, the Hindu godhead. So clearly there's immense ancient religious significance in this temple, and as our correspondent Siddhant Sibal earlier pointed out, that it is not as accessible as the other temples, especially the Pashupatinath Temple in Nepal, where the Prime Minister is going to head next. And it will be after his visit to the two temples that he will be meeting various political leaders. And as you can see, the Muktinath Temple is thronged by locals and a host of officials, lot of Nepalese media thronging the temple over there. It is, of course, a much talked about visit. not only for India but also for Nepal and the Nepalese media. And indeed a very, very integral visit for Prime Minister Narendra Modi in terms of India-Nepal ties. Lot of old wounds to be healed. It was yesterday at Janakpur while Prime Minister addressed a public gathering that he reassured Nepal of its presence. He also spoke about India's neighborhood first policy where Nepal features prominently. And it was it was a part of the confidence building exercise when Prime Minister Narendra Modi also exercised a camouflaged word of caution for Nepal when he told them to choose their neighbors carefully, and clearly he was hinting at China and the growing Chinese presence in Nepal. These are live visuals coming in from Muktinath Temple. This is the temple, as I was telling you earlier, of tremendous historic and religious significance for the Hindus and the Buddhists. And it's located in the Muktinath Valley, which is a part of the Himalayan range, the Trongla mountain pass in Nepal. Muktinath is also known as the place of salvation within Hinduism, which also lends it the name of Mukti. It is one of the 51 Shila Peeths, and Muktinath Temple is a sacred place for both Hindus and the Buddhists. It is part of one of the 51 Shakti Peeth. The Buddhists call it the Chumik Gyatsa, which in Tibetan means the 100 waters. So these were visuals of Prime Minister Modi making an exit from the Muktinath Temple. And let us also show you in the other window, you can see our visuals of the grand and joyous preparations happening at the Pashupatinath Temple, which of course is more accessible compared to the Muktinath Temple, which is of course at a very high altitude in Nepal. But Pashupatinath Temple, as we all know, is more accessible, and here you can see some visuals coming in. These are live visuals coming in from Pashupatinath Temple. The temple, of course, as you can see, is thronged by several locals, and the Prime Minister is also expected to meet many Hindu pilgrims from India and Nepal who visit the Pashupatinath Temple very regularly, and some grand preparations underway. And on the other hand, you can also see Prime Minister Narendra Modi making an exit from the Muktinath Temple in Nepal. It was just some minutes ago that we saw the Prime Minister offering his prayers inside the sanctorium of the Nepal Temple. The temple, of course, has tremendous religious and historical significance for the Hindus and the Buddhists. We saw the Prime Minister being greeted by the priests, the local officials and the locals. And as you can see, the venue is also thronged by the Nepalese media. Prime Minister's visit in Nepal is, of course, a much talked about visit, not just for India but Nepal too. And what you can see are visuals of Prime Minister Modi along with a host of other officials, locals. He's being captured by the Nepalese media. And certainly there's no doubt that this makes for excellent optics. But as we discussed earlier, there's a huge challenge for India to go beyond the optics and deliver its promises and materialize those projects.